I remember when Beth and I got together, I was at the end of my 12-year journey to find to find myself. And Beth is part of my life path. She's on my timeline. And we were destined to find each other when we did, because of the circumstances surrounding our finding each other it's pretty amazing. I knew it had to be divine. And when I met her, I I knew her. I knew her. It was instant. I met her at the O'Charlie's for lunch in Grove City, Ohio. And when I saw her in person for the first time, I fell in love. And for all intents and purposes, we've not been apart since. Um, but I was still going through my personal journey of growth and getting my act together. And she was as well. She was not perfect, although she would argue with that, but that's a discussion for another day. But I will never forget, especially when we got into Fred's work and we started doing metaphysical conferences with each other and workshops and so forth. And I just made a comment. I said, damn, why does this have to be so freaking hard? And, you know, it's like whoever set this up, whoever set up this process, when I get back to the other side, I'm going to track them down and I'm going to kick them in their ass. And she just looked at me just as stone cold. I'll never forget it, just as stone cold as she could be. And she said, what if it was you? And I'm like, oh, shit. It is me. It was me. So one of the things I want you to grasp, the decision to incarnate on Earth, it's a very dense energy here. And I believe Earth is probably the ultimate training ground for spirituality and soul evolution. It is the ultimate. There's a lot of other universes, there's multiverses, there's all kinds of stuff out there, and all different places you could choose to incarnate. And this is like the Ivy League. This is like the top school that you could volunteer to come into. So pat yourself on the back for that one, or kick yourself in your own ass for that one. That's up to you. You decide. But I think it's a joyful ride and a great ride. So let's get into tonight. We're talking about cleaning up inappropriate vows, pacts, contracts, and agreements. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how did you get involved with or associated with inappropriate vows, pacts, contracts, and agreements. It's very tricky. Okay. So this is the life path that the video was referring to. This black line is your life path. Now, over the years of working with so many people, I have seen many, many different life paths. And it always amazes me how intricate some can be and how sparse some can be. And that's a lot. It all has to do with what you wanted to learn, what you wanted to experience, how you wanted to grow. So you determine what's on your life path. So your life path includes the time you're entering. This is your birthday. This is your birthday and time, and in which it also includes the selection of your parents. So when you select your parents, specifically your mother, you send your spirit to her, and that spirit works in the womb after fertilization of the egg to build a body that matches your baseline vibratory frequency. In the computer world, that is the equivalent of a MAC address, which is a machine address that every computer has a different MAC address. You can always tell what computer was used for anything based upon the MAC address. So you have a baseline vibratory frequency, and it's unique to you. So your body gets built. At first breath, your soul comes rushing in. You're in the body, and you're off to the races. You're back on Earth. Okay, so that's the way you get here. Now, on your life plan, you set up things like the family of your family of origin. You can set up some big things like where you're going to go to college. You can set up some things like, oh, I'm going to have a relationship with Mary Ann, or I'm going to have a relationship with Ginger, or something like that. You also can set up deeper relationships later on in life, like your soul partners and so forth. So these can be casual, these can be um, deep. It's whatever you desire. But these are all just different things you set up. Your career that you're going to do. I've seen some people set up how many children they're going to have. I've also seen people set up backup relationships. For example, you could come in and this could be your primary relationship. That was mine. I had a primary relationship with the mother of my first two children, and that was destiny. That was, there was no doubt I was supposed to be with this woman, because I ignored red flag after red flag after red flag. But that was one of those things where she taught me so many lessons about who I was or who I wasn't, and how I wasn't showing up in the world as a man, or showing up in the world as a spiritual being. And I learned those lessons. And so then when that relationship was done, then I had this magical relationship called Beth that was out here. And so in this period, I grew and changed and became the person I am today. I am not the person I was 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. So Beth was out here waiting on me, but I had to go through all this to get to her. Now, if I had not done the work that I needed to do, if I had not done the examination of how I was showing up or not showing up, if I had not worked out my shock, panic, and trauma from my childhood experiences, if I had not done all that, Beth and I could have seen each other in a parking lot and just passed by each other. She couldn't have seen me, and I couldn't have seen her. And that happens a lot. People will set up relationships and they never come to fruition because the other person hasn't done their work, and you don't want to get messed up with that if you've done your work, and they'll pass you by, or the connection will never happen. I have also seen other people that will set up multiple relationships, okay? And they'll say, okay, if primary relationship A that I'm prepping for doesn't work out, then I've got primary relationship B or C or D. So it's all up to you how you plotted it out, how you decided to live it out, what you wanted to experience. It's up to you. It is completely up to you, your life plan. But be aware that the other people are involved, and it's also up to them to do their work and be ready to interact with you at the appropriate time. All right, so there's basically no sure thing, right? If you've not made the commitment, it ain't going to happen most likely. Or if you did make the commitment to meet somebody at a particular time in your life and you didn't do the work, or they didn't do their work, or they're not spiritually mature enough, the relationship will disintegrate. I will say one thing, and this will be the only time I ever say this. Beth and I have been married for 16 years, and it has been the most joyful time of my life. And it's been the easiest time of my life because we both did our work and we got together with a mission. We have a joint mission, and we have a joint purpose that we are doing tonight. You're seeing it right in front of your very eyes. This is why we came here. So that was the reason she was on my timeline. Now, there's a little bit of additional level to a life plan for light workers. Light workers have a higher level of consciousness, indigo souls, light workers, empaths, starseeds, whatever you want to call yourself. They like to throw a particular mission out here. So in addition to relationships and education and all the other stuff that we can play with on this earth, because this earth is a magnificent amusement park, is so much here to do. It's amazing. A light worker will also throw a particular mission or purpose or their contribution back to the world, and they will place that on their timeline. and they have to work into that and get ready and prepped for that. So a lot of times a light worker or indigo soul will spend the first half of their life getting ready, learning their lessons, growing, changing, shifting. And then when they get close to their mission, they can feel it coming. They can feel it coming. And I'd say 99% of the people that sit with me in private sessions, they are right here, right before their mission or their purpose. There, it still sits in front of them. They've not missed it. And they find me to help them get on their feet energetically so that they can live into their mission or purpose. And that's a very crucial piece of the whole experience, because that's the that's the big one. That's the Yahtzee. That's why we come here. Yeah, we came here for other things, to enjoy this earth, and this earth is meant to be enjoyed. It's fun to be in a physical body versus just a blob of energy on the other side. It's fun to enjoy, hiking in the woods and fishing in the lake and listening to music and going to concerts and whatever it is you enjoy. It's fun and it's wonderful and it's a great experience. But we're ultimately prepping ourselves for this right here, this mission, right? So that's really important to light workers. So they've got a little bit more involved in their life plan. Now, having said that, there are some people that come in here and there are none of these things on their life plan. I have seen people's life plan zero. They came in here and just decided to just willy-nilly and do whatever they want. And that's okay too. You'll still grow, you'll still learn, you'll still evolve. There's no way you can be in this environment and not evolve. And that's okay. But so some people lay it all out, some people lay out bits and pieces, some people lay out nothing at all. But you also have your exit. You know when you're leaving. You know when you're leaving. That's determined. You determined it. So the life plan includes lessons, things like schooling that you might get any kind of education, like this is education, metaphysical schools, institutes, official colleges. Schooling can be anything, right? It includes relationships. It includes usually a person's vocation. My vocation for the first 40 years of my life was computers and building global network infrastructures for Fortune 5 companies. So my book and the way I got into that vocation is an amazing story in and of itself. And in hindsight, that was destiny. I know it was destiny. The people that helped me were all part of my destiny. Then they include your mission and purpose. And it can also include a series of escape points. Now, these are for chickens. No, that's a judgment. I take that back. There are particular points along your life that you might have a serious illness. You might have something happen to you. You're in a car accident or something like that. And sometimes that's just an accident, but sometimes it can be an escape point. And you have to choose. Okay. And I'll give you my personal example. In 2001, in Christmas of 2001, I was in the hospital with COVID pneumonia. And I was in the hospital for 6 days. And I had an experience where I was going to die. I knew it. And I've talked about it in this group before, but there's a lot of new people in here, so I'm going to revisit this. And I also knew what I was doing. I knew that this was a miscellaneous escape point that I had chosen. And I was either going to leave this world or recommit to my mission and my purpose and get serious, real serious about what I came here to do. And I had a vision. I don't want to say a dream. It was a vision. I saw it right before my eyes. There was a cloud of purple energy, and there were black upshoots of energy coming out of the cloud, and it was up in the corner of the room. And that was my decision point. That was a portal that was opening up for me to leave. And I decided right then at that moment that no, I'm going to stay. I'm going to fight this out, get better, get back on my feet, double down my efforts to live into my mission and my purpose. And the cloud, the portal closed, and I could feel the electricity of it. It was palatable. It was popping and cracking and making all kinds of noise. And I could feel it in my body like I was being drawn into it. And I said, no, I'm staying. And the portal closed down. And within a couple hours, my vitals came back. Everything got stronger. And within 2 days, I was out of the hospital. So, and they were thinking they were going to put me on a ventilator, right? But I made that decision to stay. And that was an escape point. Now, I have told the story about my father and how he died at 3 o'clock in the morning, and they kept him alive until we got there. And I wasn't allowed to work on him. I wasn't allowed to do any work on him at all. And then I was given permission to work on him when I was by his bedside. And I pulled his soul back into the body. I pulled his spirit back in, his life force. I reconnected him to the creator, all that right then. And he literally came back to life. And then the doctors came in the next morning, all the doctors, all the nurses, even the janitor came in to have to see him. They said, I want to see the miracle man, because he was dead. And that morning he was alive. And later that morning, he even woke up and came to. So that was an escape point for him. And he decided to hang around. Okay. I don't know why we do that. It just may be out of fear that this world may get a little rough and a little tough. And it's an easy way out. It's an easy way out. And it's an appropriate way out. Don't get me wrong. If I had chosen to leave, that would have been appropriate. I would not have incurred karmic debt. I would not have incurred a disruption in my energy field or anything like that. I could have just taken the lessons I learned to date and walked out the door and been good with it. Now, the inverse of that is suicide. And the reason I'm going to talk about this is because I have heard a lot of New Age teachers, New Age gurus talk about suicide as an option. And I'm going to tell you right now, it is not. It is not, never has been, never will be. You commit suicide on this planet, it jacks you up forever. You will have one hell of a bad time every time you reincarnate because of that suicidal karmic debt. There's something about the sacredness of us and our spirits that if we commit suicide, we are damning ourselves to a living hell, basically, for the rest of our existence, unless we do come back and work through all that. So suicide is not a good thing. These miscellaneous escape points, those are your options, and you get to choose. Suicide, you do get to choose, but you're also choosing to put yourself in eternal damnation. Okay. Now, so you've got the life plan, you incarnate on Earth. That's what this is. This is Earth. These are us. And then this is the matrix of Earth, this blue here. So you've decided to come back to Earth. Now, you've decided to come back here. And once you get here, you realize how bad things really are. It's like deciding to go off to college and without a campus visit. And you look around and go, damn, I hate this place. This is terrible. This is awful. This is not what I thought it would be. It doesn't look like the brochure at all. Well, that's what happens to a lot of us. We get back here on Earth, we look around, we go, this was not in the brochure. So I'm going to kick his ass or kick their ass when I get back to the other side. But it was you. So you come back to Earth, and this Earth matrix is being impacted by hyperdimensional, occult, hostile forces. Hyperdimensional, occult, hostile forces. There is a spiritual battle, which I talk about up here. Spiritual warfare is control of reality, mind, consciousness, and awareness. There's a spiritual battle on the Earth right now for domination of the Earth. It is like a hostile takeover of a corporation. We are in the middle of a hostile takeover. And so these hyperdimensional occult hostile forces is trying to control everything in here. Well, you being light workers, indigo souls, empath sensitive star seeds, etc., said, no, I'm not going to let that happen. I'm going to come back here and really give it all I got to help with the evolution of humanity and try to beat this stuff off, try to get it out of here, try to shoo it on and get it out of its way. And that is what is happening. We are winning. It may not feel like it, it may not look like it, but when you look at all the stuff that's being revealed, all the energy that's hitting the earth, the fact that we're coming out of the Kali Yuga and going to the next level, all of that is working in our favor. And it's making this job very possible for us. Okay. So one of the things, though, about the matrix of this earth, and okay, let me back up. So, like, for me, I've been here thousands of times. I know how this world works. I know it backwards and forwards. I know the human condition. I am very familiar with humanity, its positives, its negatives. I am familiar with history. You name it, I've experienced it. I have been to this earth thousands of times, and that's been my choice. I like playing it hard. I like being challenged, and so that's why I have chosen to come back to Earth. I also like being in a physical body. I love walking in the woods. I love climbing mountains. I love hiking. I love watching my grandkids grow. That thrills me. That's fun. So, in addition to all the BS we got to put up with down here, there's still so much magnificence that is available to us. Just the beauty of the Smoky Mountains is one of the most breathtaking things I can experience. There are other people who have not been here before or who have not been here many times at all. And I know Beth is one of those. This is like her, I don't know, probably first go or maybe second or third go as far as we can really tell. Second, two, okay. And she's not as familiar with the earth as I am. And I have to explain things to her. I have to, and not so much now. I mean, she's a real fast learner. I mean, she's one of the smartest people I know. But when we first got together, she would say, well, why does that happen? Why is that going on? And I explained it to her. Well, when this happens and that happens and this goes on and this happens, that humanity's nature kicks in and blah, 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 blah. And so part of the reason we got together is so that she could be educated. I helped educate her on the functioning of the earth and humanity and how things work. And then she learned that, and now she's functioning just fine here. But she's only been here two times. I've been here thousands, and that's up to you. That's up to you. That's your life plan. You get to choose where you incarnate. There are other planets out there that, like for example, this planet, the entire goal, the entire learning mechanism of this world is to learn through relationships. Okay. And you can just look around and see that relationship with our parents at first, relationship with our siblings, eventually relationship with a spouse or a significant other, relationships with coworkers, bosses, etc. The primary way we learn down here is through relationships. And other planets, their primary learning mechanism can be through love, just constantly contributing love. There's any number of key learning components of other Earth or not Earth-like environments. But Earth is very dense compared to other environments. So you really got to have some tenacity to come here, and you've got to have some real tenacity to keep coming here, or maybe foolishness. I don't know how you want to classify it, but that's the way that this Earth works. So let me get back to this. This hyperdimensional occult hostile forces are imprinting and pushing down on the earth. They're constantly they're looking for people to control. They're looking for they're expressing their agendas. They're pushing nastiness and negativity and so forth and so on. So they are trying to take over Earth. We have come back to thwart that. Now, here's one of the problems. If you've been here before, one time, two times, 10 times, 1,000 times, when you leave this world and this soul leaves this body and it traverses through the matrix of this earth and goes back up to creator, goes back up to our home, right? The things you learned, lessons, the vows, pacts, contracts, and agreements that you made, the rituals and swearings that you made, get stuck in this. I visualize it as like a little locker right in the matrix of this earth. And so when you die, whatever you did, your karmic debt, bad deeds, anything that you did, all that gets stored in the locker of the matrix of this earth. Okay. And then your soul traverses back up and it's just your soul. You take with you the lessons, the learnings, the wisdom, the knowledge that you learned through relationships on earth. But you left all those vibrations in this locker right at the edge of the matrix of this earth. Okay. Why is that important? Well, when you reincarnate, you have a baseline vibratory frequency, and that matches your locker. And so when your soul comes down to this earth, your baseline vibratory frequency picks up all the vows, pacts, contracts, fealties, swearings, rituals, etc. that you did and puts them back into your energy field. Why is that important? Because a couple lifetimes ago, you could have took what's called a vow of nurturing. And a vow of nurturing is basically where you basically relinquish your existence to take care of somebody. And you took this vow maybe 10 lifetimes ago. I've seen people as many as 30 lifetimes ago. And you took the vow 30 lifetimes ago and you came back 29 times after that. And every time when you came back, you picked up that vow of nurturing and you have no clue that you did it. Because when you took the vow originally 30 lifetimes ago, you took it for eternity. When you take a vow, ritual, contract, pact, swearing, or a fealty, you take it for eternity. And so when you come back, you pick up where you left off and you have that vow of nurturing and you don't know you have that vow of nurturing. And the way it impacts you is that you basically just give yourself away. You relinquish your existence. You get married and you'll just become a caretaker to that person you married, or you'll become a caretaker to a parent or a sibling or somebody that's in need or a neighbor or whatever. And that's great. That's wonderful. That's fantastic that you're willing to help somebody, but you're doing it not out of kindness and concern now in this 30 lifetimes later. You're doing it out of a vow of nurturing that you took and you're not aware of it. So that's how you can end up with inappropriate vows, pacts, contracts, and agreements, because you did it in past lives. That's one way. Another way that you end up with this is that you get into traps of agreement. Traps of agreement are very specific things where energetic forces, people, institutions, whatever has tricked you into being in agreement with them, and therefore you are in service to them at some form or fashion. Now, these vows that you took in past lives, you'll never know about. These traps of agreement are so slick that that you don't figure it out, but you're still living into those traps of agreement, and that's controlling your life. So when you're up here and you're trying to live out your life plan, you're being impacted by agreements that you inadvertently made or were tricked into making or were placed in your field. They were invoked, convoked, etc. And they're impacting your life and you don't even know it. You don't even know it. So these traps of agreements will really cause a lot of problems and havoc in a current lifetime. So, and that can be for career. You know, you go to a company, you sign up for a job, you live into the book of social norms, and you get an education, you go get a job, you work there for 40 years, you retire with a gold watch or whatever they give you nowadays, and that's it. Your life is spent. It's over because you got into a trap of agreement with this corporation. I will give you 40, 50, 60, 80 hours a week of my precious time, because time is the most precious resource we have. We do not get it back. We cannot make any more. As we move down this life plan, as we move down this line of our existence, it never goes backwards. We are always moving forward. So if you've spent 40 years here working a job, it's gone. It's over. Now, that may have been good for you. You may have been happy with that, but it's when you get tricked into it, and it happens really fast because life moves so fast and it's so chaotic that you can start a job and it's 30 years later and you wonder, where the hell did all the time go? What happened? It's because you weren't paying attention. You got lazy and you fell for this career trap of agreement, and you gave all that time to a corporation and made money for somebody else, made a profit for somebody else. Now, it could have been noble. You could have been a nurse, a doctor, whatever, and that's okay. I'm not judging you on that. I'm just telling you how life works. And I know you can look back at your life right now and wonder, where did the past 5 years go? Where did the past 10 years go? Where did the past 20 years go? You know? And this really became apparent to me when I had my own kids and I saw how fast they grew. And I wondered, what the hell happened? Boy, I wish I had an understanding of time and these agreements back then so I could have enjoyed the process more. I'm not making that same mistake with my grandkids. I'm enjoying the hell out of the time with my grandkids, but it's going fast too. So you get into traps of agreement, and they can come from careers. They can come from your rulers, i.e., your government. Your government demands certain things from you. They want part of your wages. They want half of your income so that they can take it and divert it to wars that are done in your name with your money, and you have no control over that. That's a trap of agreement. It can also be religion. You know, you sign on to a religion in the Catholic faith or the Southern Baptist faith or whatever faith you determine or whatever you've chosen. And that religion has certain rules and regulations that you must abide by. And that can limit you. Oh, no, you cannot think outside the box. You cannot entertain information that doesn't come from within inside the religion. You must only listen to your pastor, to your minister, to your priest. You cannot think for yourself. That's a trap of agreement. And when you get into those traps of agreements and you get enough of them, you get bogged down and you can't put your finger on it. You don't understand why. Meanwhile, you're moving down this timeline and you're not doing what you came here to do. You're not being who you came here to be because of these traps of agreement. Another one is New Age philosophy. I think the New Age philosophy as a whole, and I hope I do not offend you when I say this, I think the New Age philosophy as a whole is bullshit. It is nothing but another religion. It is a religion that's been around since the dawn of man, but people buy into it because it's an alternative to organized religion. And I will never forget, I had one client, this has stuck with me. I think I worked with her 10 years ago. And she had been in an automobile accident. She was traveling down the highway, her and her daughter, and some drunk come over the median and hit her head on. And that drunk person passed away. Her daughter was seriously injured. She was in the hospital for a while. but she struggled for so long with guilt, And the question she asked me was, why did I create that? Why did I create that? That's New Age philosophy. You create everything. You create your reality. I'm not creating bombs being dropped in Ukraine. I'm not creating bombs being dropped on children in Gaza. I'm not doing that. And you're not doing it. And she felt guilty for this drunk driver who destroyed her car and hurt her daughter and hurt herself because she had a New Age belief that she created everything. And I told her right off the bat, you didn't create that. It wasn't on your timeline. Now, she could have agreed to do that, but this particular incident, no, she did not. She did not. This was a dirtbag decided to drink too much and get behind the wheel and do something stupid. It was a trap of agreement that he, she, or whatever, whoever it was in with alcohol. To be an alcoholic, I can only assume that, because anybody that gets behind the wheel drunk is a moron, and you're putting other people's life at risk. So the New Age trap of agreement is you're to blame for everything that goes on. It's your fault. And nothing can be further from the truth. There are 8 billion people in this world, and there are 8 billion different realities in this world, and there are 8 billion different views of reality in this world. And sometimes you just run or bump into an asshole. You didn't create it. You didn't draw it to you. You didn't manifest this jerk on the highway. You just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. So those are traps of agreement. The goal of all this, the goal of these hyperdimensional occult hostile forces is to get you to relinquish your sovereignty. That's what all this is about, is to get you to relinquish your sovereignty. Why is that important? Because if you had 8 billion people on this planet that owned their sovereignty, that knew that they were independent souls that lasted forever, they would not fear death, and they would certainly not be fearing life, and they would be in control of their own existence, and we would be unmanageable as a species. We would be absolutely unmanageable as a species, and that's not a bad thing. You think you have to have the government involved for everything you do? For example, I'm just using this as an example. Think back to the last time that there was a storm and the lights went out, electricity went out, and you're driving on the highway and you come up to a red light and there's no lights to tell you go, stop, or anything like that. And there's people coming this way and there's people coming this way and people coming this way. And you pull up. Somehow, between the 4 of you sitting at that intersection, you navigate who goes next. All of a sudden, because there's not a light there telling you what to do and how to behave, you are concerned about those other 3 people and you are cooperative. And you go ahead, go on. No, go ahead, don't worry, I can wait. And you do it, you navigate it, it happens. And everybody moves, goes in the intersection at the appropriate time, and you go on about your lives. You didn't need that authority to tell you what to do and how to live. You did it on your own because you had compassion for you and concern for them. That's an agreement or a trap of agreement that we get into. So they're not necessary, but the goal is to get you to relinquish your sovereignty. And the sovereignty, as a reminder, I keep it up there in the corner every week. It is the power, the absolute power that you have the power you inherently have to control the outcome of your life. You have it. It's part of who you are. It's your innate ability. That is part of this life plan. It is the life plan you are creating. It is the power you use to create this life plan and to have these experiences and to learn these lessons and to grow. Okay? But the matrix is constantly pushing down on us and trying to take away our sovereignty and our divinity. And our divinity. We are part of that from which we came. We are part of the creator of all that is. Okay. And I'm sorry, I'm just rambling. I'm getting on my soapbox. But the clearing we're going to do tonight is very close to my heart because it returns sovereignty. So you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That's a quote by Marcus Aurelius. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. And you use mind to move matter. You use your mind to create your reality. You use mind to draw things to you. So as long as you have power over your mind and give up this thought that you are in charge, you're causing the bombing, you're causing the strife, you're causing the crime, you're causing the BS in this world, you're causing the liars that are in charge or call themselves our rulers. You're not. You're not. You're here to work on this and interact with the people you came here to interact with, and you learn your lessons and leave the world a little bit better place. So you need to focus on what your heart is saying. Focus on what your heart is saying to you. Listen to yourself. You are your own authority. Everything else is fear and illusion. Fear and illusion induced into the matrix from hyperdimensional occult hostile forces. Focus on what your heart is saying. Everything else is fear and illusion. Most humans spend their life creating distractions and avoidances because the thought of their own greatness is overwhelming. One of my mentors taught me that many, many years ago. Most humans spend their life creating distractions and avoidances, sitting on their iPhone, getting their Starbucks coffee, sitting with their computer, all that kind of stuff. They create distractions and avoidance because the thought of their own greatness is too overwhelming. And I want to get you back to owning your greatness, owning your divinity. And owning your sovereignty. How do you do that? Free will. Free will, my friends. Every arrow in here, everything that's being pushed on us, every diversion, every bullshit narrative, every lie is to take away our free will, to make us think we're hopeless and helpless, and nothing could be further from the truth. And that is the power of acting without the constraint of necessity or fate, the ability to act at one's own discretion. You have set up this beautiful, magnificent life plan. You have set up this magnificent light worker mission that you have. You have set up something that you're going to leave the world with, and you need to get about your business and do it. And you're going to do it through free will, which is the power of acting without the constraint of necessity or fate, the ability to act at one's own discretion.
If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more tips, tutorials, vlogs just like this one. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Also, if you know someone who might enjoy this video, feel free to share it with them. Thanks again for your support. It means the world to us, and we will see you in our next video.